I actually know. Thank you, creepy bot. Um, I actually know someone who will sit and blind type in real time when he's in a conversation and just like transcript what he's doing in real time, and he just keeps notes of everything and it's as fast as I talk. It's just crazy.
Sounds like a really useful skill to have.
I don't know. It actually just creeps people out, and I don't see why it's any better than just pushing record, honestly.
I mean,
But
is it creepier than pushing record?
it is definitely creepier than pushing record. There's something a little unnerving about having a conversation with someone and watching their hands like independently speed type what you're saying. Um, it just doesn't seem right.
I mean, I don't think computers are any more trustworthy than
Well, we are.
humans.
It's just
uh,
not obvious enough, and so it doesn't creep people out.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Things that are obvious are the things that bother us. The subtle things slip in. All right. Uh, well, it's 5 minutes after, which means we are about to start because that's usually how we do it. Um, any of the links that anybody decides to grab, or if I grab something for this particular sub thread that I have created, and all of this will be sorted and then placed into the new channel below, which I got to be honest, I've never actually heard a human being say out loud, except for like listening to teenagers butcher it when they're playing D&D. So, yep, I'm gonna not say it. It's the Magic channel because it's Spooksgiving, and if there's one thing I love doing, it's celebrating Halloween. The other thing that's
Thaumaturgy,
happened,
literally the magic making.
yeah. Um, I have a friend who's working on a project that has to do with, I guess, the biochemistry of emotion and feelings. Um,
So drugs.
no, not necessarily
Love
drugs.
potions?
Um, more like uh, uh, how to. I mean, is chocolate a drug?
I mean, if aspirin is, then chocolate too.
Yeah, okay.
English
I
is
mean,
weird
we
like
could
this.
def I mean, I think at this point we all know that things like the definition of drug versus medicine. In fact, didn't we just have we had a really long conversation about this actually. So we're just going to call it biochemistry because um that way it doesn't have the negative or positive connotations that are associated with those other words because that can get tricky sometimes. All right. So today's paper, so we're going to be of natural plants and other situations. In fact, if I end up tripping over something that's like an insect extract, oh yeah, we're totally going to look at that too. But right now, I am starting off the Halloween theme with a paper about. Oh gosh, this paper is actually bonkers. It's does everybody have it pulled up? It's the Dracaena Arborea Extracts
Yep.
delay the regulatory effect of dopamine and oxytocin in spinal male rats. Is everybody ready?
What's a spinal mel rat?
We'll get there.
I love how they played completely straight right up until the end.
Say what?
They don't make any humorous comments until the very, very parting
Oh,
remarks.
yeah. No, they're kept their shit together for this entire paper, but it is both fascinating and I have to say elegantly terrifying. So perfect for the season. Let's get started. All right. So Dracaena Arborea. Can somebody grab me a picture of that and toss it into the chat really quick? This is called the dragon tree, and I think since every single one of you has watched television, you have seen these plants before. They kind of vibe in office spaces. Do we have a picture? No.
1 second, I'll take a picture of mine.
Oh, hand ready for its close up. All right. So it is called a medicinal plant, um, and and it has ethnopharmacological aphrodisiac reputation. Does somebody want to parse that cluster of words?
Aphrodisiac.
Right. And what is
Humans use it to get horny.
ooh, what is so this is a fascinating look into some of the weird definitions that we use. Does anyone know what ethnopharmacological means? Guess. Come on.
Hmm.
Bust out that Greek and Latin.
Like a specific culture is using it as a medicine?
There we go. Exactly. It's we're gonna call it Nara, chuck it down into the side channel, please. Thank you. Um and yes, and so that is a good picture right there. Does everybody kind of recognize one of these bad boys? Seen it in an office, in a lobby somewhere? They're all over the place, which
They're
makes
really easy. Really easy to take cuttings off. Just cut them in half.
huh the they're really great, which makes this all the more funny. All right, so working our way through the abstract here. Um, so it's called an aphrodisiac, but what it actually does, as you go through here, it says it has an effect on the ejaculatory pattern of spinal cord transected and urethra okay, so there's a lot of a lot of words which mean kind of terrifying things right here. So, does anybody want to take a guess? I know that some of you don't read ahead, and now
Hmm.
is your moment to shine. I want to hear some guesses on what that sentence means.
Does it have to mean something?
Yes, it does. All right.
Did they cut
So,
the cords on the rats?
yeah, they
Oh
went
no.
for the absolute in negative control here. Um, they have a device which basically forces orgasm. It's just there to mechanically make the orgasm happen, and it does it through like aggressive nerve stimulation. It's not really like it's not like fun for the rats. It's not masturbatory, and to make sure that the the rats were ejaculating from a purely biochemical place, they snipped their spine halfway down so that they were not connected to the lower, and then they were still able to induce ejaculation. So this means they're really working on these guys at a nerve and biochemical level. There's not even connected to the brain. Um, and they actually found that the process of ejaculation is controlled by um, a certain part in the lower spine, and and when you take the extract of this plant, and they injected it, but traditionally it was made into a tea, like so many other things. The chemicals in the extract block the dopamine and oxytocin receptors in the area of the spine. Well, in many areas, but specifically in the area of spine that triggers the ejaculatory response. That means when it says yak, what it really means is it inhibits orgasm because for men sometimes the concept of being able to not have an orgasm and aphrodisiac are oddly the same because lasting power and stuff like that. So it's a little ridiculous. Basically, it's actually really screwing with you. But it makes it so that it
Why not just use a
inhibits level.
dildo?
Okay, one, because since it's ethnopharmacological, this is pre uh tra- like the modern sex toys, and then those things have kind of a reputation of making certain extremely patriarchal societies have like insecurity issues and stuff like that. I mean, like there's articles every freaking week about how to okay with bringing sex toys into the bedroom. This is a new issue. Um,
I
that is a
also
sociological question, and nobody can fucking answer this.
I
I
think
mean,
that the other major point is that the staying power of a man is generally also tied into the degree of their masculinity. You
absolutely.
ejaculate way too quickly, then that's viewed as being a slight against you.
Yep, that is correct. Um, so so that's why it's considered an aphrodisiac, not because it actually oxytocin, but it actually inhibits dopamine and oxytocin. And um and so not only did they test this with rats who had had their spines snipped, but they also tested it on castrated rats to to see if the firing of the process was truly located in the isolate just purely the ejaculation, free from conscious thought, free from actual like a lot of things that we associate with that, like different types of stimulation. This is a non-pleasurable direct stimulation of the nervous system. I think it would be really, really odd to experience. Trying not to think about it honestly. Um, so they actually tried to follow the traditional recipe for this. So the first version that they made, they basically made a tea out of it. They ground up the roots and then put it in for 3 days at 4 degrees. It's not even, it's like a cold brew. Um, and then they took the liquid, reduced it, evaporated the water, and got a brown residue, um, which was basically the concentrated root chemicals, and you have to understand here that they are going. This is I'm going to say like a middle of the process study. They have figured some stuff out. It's beginning to understand the mechanism. So there isn't actually a lot of uh, explanation about which chemicals in this residue are the ones that are actually causing the thing. It's more just purely about the mechanism, and they just have a concentrated plant goo with anything that would dissolve in water, right? So as we've learned, as we all know, some things dissolve in water, some things dissolve in alcohol, some things dissolve in chloroform. You know, your solvents are varied. So they versions of this, one they did in water, which we already talked about, and then the other one they did it in alcohol. And you're going to get different chemicals extracted from the uh, the steeping process. Can anyone tell me why they did this at 4 degrees? That's refrigerator temperature, by the way. Anyone?
Was it due to the chemicals being sensitive to temperature because they might be proteinous in nature, or
Yeah,
that's all I can
yeah,
think about?
yeah. That's exactly what it is. Especially because, as I mentioned, they don't actually know which chemicals are the ones that are triggering this entire process, and so for the uh, best stability, they did everything at refrigerator temperature, and uh, this allows them to get the most concentrated and effective version of the extract. So you'll see this in other types of situations, like the creation of mushroom tea, where you don't want to actually put your mushrooms into boiling water because it will start to destroy the hmm, useful compounds that you're looking to get out of the extract. All right. So, um, they have, as I mentioned, they don't really know what's going on. They have this one paragraph. It's one sad. They're like, we found we found some stuff, flavonoids and saponins and sterols. Um, those are really broad categories of chemical. Um, and so that isn't actually telling us much. Um, if you go down to the results, we're going to take a little jump here. We're going to jump down to page 215 in the results here. And again, they just have the very first thing is just one sad paragraph that says we found a bunch of stuff and we listed it in table 1, which is I mean, they're really just continuing the cringe here. This is the saddest um analysis of materials in a plant that I've ever seen. They're like, these chemicals are definitely here. I'm sorry. It's the most ridiculous part of this paper. Everything else is beautiful about this. Um, but the qualitative phytochemical analysis is not. But this isn't their fault. This isn't, bad research. This is just it's way too messy in the biochemistry of a plant extract to just start to hammer stuff out. That's a full-time job in and of itself. All right. Doo, doo, doo. So their hypothesis is that it's blocking the dopamine and oxytocin pathways. These two pathways are strongly linked, and dopamine can sometimes be a chemical that is triggering the process. Super linked. They can happen independently, but usually they happen in pairs. And they found that you can basically just punch dopamine into the spine, and it like auto triggers an ejaculation, which is pretty cool actually, but also terrifying. Um, if you think about how that would be applied to a human. Um,
Inevitably, someone will be into it.
and just to test their hypothesis that this extract is blocking the dopamine pathway in this location in the spine, they were going for just pure, let's see if we can uh, get a reaction with dopamine and then add the plant extract into the rat and also give them dopamine and see if we still get the result or not. So if you go down here and you look at figure 1, this is great because it is such a um, very distinct graph. There's absolutely no confusion about what's happening here. I think does any figure 1. We've got our standard positive control. Turns out that urethral stimulation really is the go-to scientific method for uh, triggering an orgasm manually in a laboratory situation. So I guess those people were onto something.
Mm.
Hey, for anyone to do self-experimentation. I have too many friends who work in the hospital. All right, we have our negative control, a saline solution. Obviously, we are seeing no. So these are motor patterns, by the way. This is like legitimately just the electrochemical firing in the muscle. Um, and here's when they put in dopamine, and it really makes it happen. And then there's oxytocin, and you got another really powerful spike right there. So, of course, when your body is flooding itself with dopamine and oxytocin, you have those two graphs smushed together. And all right, um, going down to table 2 here, we can see that they had a a really excellent collection of data points here. They did the extract in water and then a variety of different dopamine levels, the extract in alcohol and a variety of different dopamine levels, the urethral stimulation, the saline solution, just a dopamine solution, just an oxytocin solution. The reason that you only have one data point or a couple of data points for the oxytocin is they found that oxytocin by itself is not powerful enough to get the good data. They kind of glaze over that, but that's what's happening here. Um, and our chart of how many times we can get a castrated paraplegic mouse to have an orgasm. Um, with both
Which is not
the
exactly what Halloween is all about.
uh hey, sometimes you go for the supernatural, sometimes you go for the jump scare, and sometimes you go for body horror. And I guess that's where we are today. Ter-
Hmm.
like you know, Jasmine's not here, but she's definitely winning by having apophenia. Um, because some of us are really good at visualizing, and my lower back is starting to hurt from thinking about this, honestly. Um,
Mhm.
you can see that all of the extracts of the plant in its various concentrations are causing no response. Uh, is there a reason why we have figure two? Can somebody explain that to me? Anyone? Guesses are good. Come on. Really?
I mean, I get about as far as supposing that if it did have some direct impact on the muscles, that would be different than blocking the receptors. So they just wanted to sort of cover their bases. But I don't quite
Well,
get it past that.
you're on the right track here. They are covering their bases. What they're showing here is that there's no secondary noise from the process. So what if there's something that causes a small amount of the electrical spiking to happen, even while it's inhibiting the actual uh,
Right, you'd have to know whether or not you need to look for that.
effect. It's like, okay, when the mouse is having the muscle contractions that we associate with ejaculation, we want it to look like C and D, or maybe even A. Um, it and we don't want it to look like B, right? It's very
Mhm.
distinct, the differences. Now, if you had just so these are right, just dopamine, just oxytocin, just stimulation. So now we have just our what's the word for like a coterie, a collection, our extract, our variety of chemicals. Um, and we want to make sure that it's not you are injecting a chemical into a living creature. You want to see if it does something, right? Signal to noise ratio and all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. Anybody have any questions? This is a great time to hit the questions. Clarification anywhere?
Mildly curious how they got this past an ethics board.
You clipped out.
How did they get this past the ethics board?
Oh, well, let's see. So it's not an IUAP, IUC. Oh my gosh, that's not right. That's the chemistry union. You get a review board. Um, you put your hypothesis forth. You make sure that your review board has multiple veterinarians on it. They probably went with a standard review board that they used for every single one of these projects. You don't just casually bust out a six pack of mice and just start snipping things and jabbing them with chemicals. So you probably have like a long history of working with these things. So you have the system set up to make sure that like because they're really like these ethical review boards, they're really there to make sure that you're not slipping into being a sociopath. Honestly, they're like, okay, you guys are definitely doing something pretty horrifying to these mice,
Um,
but yes.
They actually do go and directly address this question in animals and groups, and they make specific reference to how that they're following the protocol for experimenting on mice as laid out in Mexico. So, if you're interested, you could probably go look at the legislation surrounding that.
Um, yeah, there's actually there's a it, it's a little odd because they don't they don't really have good references there. But that makes sense. Protocols are not usually referenced unless they are uniquely developed by a research. Things that are standard protocols don't really get mentioned. But thank you for grabbing that or finding that, Nara. Um, so we get down to figure 3. So everybody scroll on down to page 216. And without let's just go with like a blind take, because one of the great things about this paper is that it's really visual in as much as that it very much tells you a story of what's going on. So without reading the caption, the explanation there, can somebody tell me what we're looking at? Anyone want to take a guess? Mindset. Would you like to hazard a guess at what this graph is showing, or what this table is showing us? Oh, they're muted. They're perma muted. Anyone that's not Tetra, because Tetra always answers questions. Guys are really slacking here.
Is it a dopamine over time graph?
All right. Well, oh, hello.
Did you catch Ether? Ether was saying something.
Yeah. I
No,
said, is it
either.
a oh
Go ahead.
oh, I wanted to know if it was a dopamine over time graph.
It's actually the the electrical excitation over time graph. Remember the previous figures that we've seen? They're all about measuring that electrical excitation. Um, so if you go back and double check on table 2, what you'll see is they have a lot of these where it's the extract plus dopamine. Because if you're talking about an inhibitory process, what you're going to be, that means that even if you add more of the chemical, you're still not going to get a reaction. So this is like why they say it's not good to take with MAOIs, for instance. It's because there's already something in there screwing with the neurochemistry, and it's inhibiting the effects of the chemicals, um, independent of how much you put in, right? So what we see here is a variety of different dopamine and and dragon tree extracts. And what they're showing here is basically as you increase, so it's water as your solvent on the left side and alcohol as your solvent on the right side. And you can see um, a low amount, it goes from low to high in terms of concentration of the extract. So a little bit of extract plus your normal triggering amount of dopamine um, gets you these two spikes along the top. And you can actually see they said right here that a second arrow, because they start with the extract. That's where the first arrow comes in. And then the second arrow is when they put in the dopamine. And you can see right after they do that, you get a lot of electrical noise there, because it's doing the thing that dopamine is going to do. It's going to create this ejaculatory response. And as you go down on the different figures, you'll notice that they're still showing here's where we put in the extract, and then here's where we put in the dopamine. And as the amount of extract increases, the effect of the dopamine decreases to the point where when you have 100 milligrams of extract per kilogram of test subject, you don't get any electrochemical response at all. It looks exactly like all of these negative controls that we have up in negative control to saline in figure 1B. Highly effective is what we call that. Now, it's really important to understand that this is strictly the pro-ejaculatory activities. So it's just about the dopamine and oxytocin inhibiting effects. And so everything else is still there. The mechanical excitation, whatever other biochemical things are going on, are still capable of happening. You just can't finish. It is the ultimate form of edging. You just can't. As long as this chemical is in the system, you do everything but finish. Which is terrifying, actually. So yeah, and then I mean, at that point, it actually becomes very, very straightforward. They're like about the explicit set of muscles that do the final step of the ejaculatory process, and that's what's being inhibited there. The bulbospongiosus muscles. And then they go through and they basically talk through all the stuff that we just talked through here. This is actually a really great discussion, because they really, like, if you go through and read the conclusion here at the end, they do an excellent job of talking about what they did, why it works, what their hypothesis was, how they tested it. I mean, it's an excellent summary. The best part is that there's unlike so many other papers that we've seen, there's no extrapolation. They're not talking about what they're going to do with this research, what the next steps are. Usually that's something that's tucked down. This is purely understanding the mechanism of this process. I'm going to guess that further research is definitely about figuring out what's inside of it. Continue to call it bioactive constituents, which is one of the broadest things you could possibly say. But the recipe is simple. The plant is easy to get, and since it is ethnopharmacological, it means that it was taken traditionally as a beverage. Not a lot of people shooting up back when we were still using stones as our primary tool. Questions, comments, thoughts?
I wonder what will happen if they try this with a female rat.
I'm sorry, what?
What will happen if they try this with a female rat?
That is an interesting question. since it, I mean, they tied it to a particular cluster of um, muscles that are really um, kind of male specific. Um, um, don't have, oh gosh, they're sexually dimorphic, which means that this muscle group is different in between biological sexes. It's a completely different system that that allows you to do that. And I'm gonna, let's see. I need a good example of this. Hmm. I want the two side by side. Well, oh, there we go. Got it. Mhm.
I mean, aren't in mammals like muscle groups like that are similar, they just develop a bit differently?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it would be um a a bad call to say that that because they're really different. I mean, this is sometimes we like to make comparisons between certain parts of the biologically um male and female sexes in mammals, and I mean, this is an extreme oversimplification. And actually, if you look at the graphic that I have um, uh, professionally put in advanced potions, you'll notice that those those bulbospongius muscles, they are right there along the ejaculatory canal. They are super crucial for that. They are also in an important place in the it's quite possible that they went on to do that, though. I think we could probably do a quick hunt for that. Any more questions or thoughts about this paper? Hello?
I would say this is a really interesting paper in regards to like methodology. They really did cover all their bases, apart
Yeah.
from the female question,
Uh,
which is they didn't address that in
from
the
what?
slightest. And I want to
They
know,
didn't. They,
did
they didn't
they
address what?
didn't do it on female rats? They didn't do the female rats, which I really want to know now. Otherwise, it's a really
Right,
interesting
right,
paper, and
and
it covered all their bases. That's
yeah,
I want to know. I want to know if other people have
yeah,
done it because that's
and
interesting.
and and uh and there's a reason that they did that. Mostly because when you're doing scientific papers, you want them to be fairly specific. You get too generalized and you start to have so much data that it's hard to have a concise um, narrative that you're trying to get across. Um, Also, very interesting here. While we've been having this little piece of conversation, that the PI has co-authored here, or the main person, and every single one of these papers. Whoa, fruit extracts. Oh my gosh, this is great. This is just like all of their papers are about plant extracts and the effects. Okay, I thought I was going it was going to be all rat dicks all the time. And I was wrong. Though there are a lot of papers about the reproductive organs of the male rat. but it's all about male rats, and it makes me really think that because when they do both genders of rats, it's stuff for like cramps or stomach ailments or stuff like that. Um, basically, probably for the same biochemical reason, we're having like a relaxation of the smooth muscles in certain areas, but there's a whole collection of different plants that this laboratory has worked with. Um, like, and a lot of them are from Africa, but yeah, these people are basically going through all of the random plants that is a painkiller. Um, where ow, they made an extract of I'm not going to butcher that name. They made an extract of a certain type of plant, and then they tested pain response by injecting the rats with acetic acid, uh, guaranteed to get you a true biochemical pain response, separate from psychological input, and also really painful.
Like you could use
So,
electrical
all right, so
stimulation instead.
they do that in this paper. Actually, they're like, yeah, you can do it by dopamine. You can do it by urethral stimulation they're um, if they're um, even if they're clipped, and then also uh, they do mention at some point hooking up electrodes to the separated piece of spine and basically button triggering ejaculations as well. So,
Wait, to the spine directly?
let me find that because yeah, that was a thing. Let's see. Uh, do, 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 do. Uh, yeah, blunt transected at level T6. We decided to use drugs. Electrical reading, I know everything's electro. My, nope, nope, nope. Where did I see this? I might have. Oh wait, yes. It's down here in the conclusion, close to the bottom, next to last paragraph. Um, confirming previous observation in animals with the spinal cord transected, in which ejaculatory reflexes remain intact and can be activated pharmacologically or electrically. And then I went off to one of those side papers and learned about connecting electrodes to the nerves in the spine, like you do.
It's
So,
interesting because oh, I was just going to mention
what is
because I heard there was another study quite a while ago where they did a similar thing, but it was to monkeys and it was to brain tissue. So I'm kind of surprised that you can get a similar effect this far down the spine.
well, actually, that's what makes this like extra cool. It really is biochemically at this location in the spine where the ejaculatory response happens. Your brain isn't involved. You don't need your brain to have an orgasm. That's what they're saying here. Which I think we all kind of knew. Um,
Don't they hypothesize at the end
but the
that
brain,
it's
you're
composed of
so uh, go ahead.
don't they hypothesize at the end that It's actually a two-part response, one part being the spine and the other part being the brain.
Um, yes, basically ejaculation is divided into two successive phases, emission corresponding to the secretion of seminal fluid by the accessory into the prostatic urethra, and the expulsion corresponding to the forceful expulsion of semen via the urethral meatus. So if you go above that, they have this paragraph right before that that says, thus, under urethral stimulation, these sensory nerves are stimulated and inputs are generated and sent to the which interprets the message and induces the rhythmic discharges of the striated bulbospongius muscles, is the fancy word of saying ejaculation. So what they're saying is the process actually happens in the spine. It doesn't pass up to the brain. It input just goes bonk into that, and there you go. In fact, of the spinal cord to produce the general muscular rhythmic contractions and to eliminate the reciprocal connections with the supraspinal structures in the brain. So they are explicitly saying this is a brain-free process.
Hmm.
So what have we learned today, class?
I know even less what brains are for now today than before.
You don't need a brain.
That
A thing that make us a dominant species, not our brains.
that if you want to train yourself to be into something, then apparently you can just physically masturbate and just think of something else.
There you go. Or I guess. Wonder what would happen, like how high you would have to crank a tens unit that was close to the spine. Do you think what? Eh?
Hmm.
Actually, wait, where's Jasmine? She would know the answer to this. All right, we have any other kinksters here? Is there like a sex toy that you can put on the spine that artificially forces orgasm?
Not that I've heard of.
I know, right? I feel like I would have known about this.
I know people do use tens units, but nothing else.
Yeah, and tens units are really not it's not as elegant and hyper specific of it as this. I feel like it would be a very weird situation, like the weird experience. If I didn't have to get my spine clipped, I definitely would put that on my list of strange things I would like to experience once.
They
I
might be
mean,
able
Actually,
to
do
get
you
your
have to
that's
get
spine
your
clipped.
spine clipped?
No,
yeah.
no, I'm just putting that down as a caveat in case anyone's listening and then decides to send me some sort of weird device, but I have to stab it into my spine.
No,
Right,
shouldn't
right.
it? Don't we
Remember,
have
best to be safe.
I can't remember the name of the classification of drug, but don't we have like blockers that prevent transmission of signals across nerves? Shouldn't that,
Yeah,
in theory, be able to be used for this?
um,
It's what they give the pregnant ladies.
it's possible, but it would be through a different mechanism. So, biochemical at this level, but one is done through stimulating the process, or overloading the process, and the other one is done through uh, purely chemical means. So chemically stimulating or overwhelming the process. So the biochemical pathways, uh, are.
What would be
There
the
you go.
next step to determine what kind of chemicals that is actually making this effect?
Well, that's a great question. So the first thing that we would want to do is we're going to grab the title of this paper and we're going to throw it into Google and we're going to try to find it on something like PubMed, one of those places that doesn't let us download our papers. And they're weird still about letting you get or not get your papers. But if we are in PubMed, so everybody please follow me to sorry, throwing links into the little chat here. Follow me to this link, which is just the PubMed link of the paper. And this is great for people that are doing research, more learning about the meta of reading science papers. If you go over to the right-hand side, you'll notice that it lets you see the abstract, and sometimes it'll let you look at the graphics without showing you anything else. But you'll also notice that it has a section called Cited By, which is the opposite of the references section, where the references section talks about all the papers that they use to get to this point. Cited By shows the papers that are written after that use this paper as a foundation point. And you'll notice that multiple of these papers, some of the same authors, specifically Wacho P. I don't know what the first name is, but the last name is Wacho. And so we can see where these are going as well, including off to other plant extracts and stuff like that, including the aphrodisiac activity of the aqueous crude extract of purple corn. I'm so excited. It's corn. What? It's got the juice.
Cornstarch?
Aqueous crude extract of purple corn. Oh gosh, and they do it. They have rats that are having anesthetized and spinal cord transected, and the parameters of copulatory behavior and the parameters of genital motor pattern of ejaculation.
Wait, okay, so when they say administered, do they mean they fed the rats? Or
Nope.
they just mushed up corn and injected it into
And
the rats?
they made it into an extract, so they made it into a liquid. They strained out all the cellulose and the clumpy stuff, so it's a solution. And the standard method for giving chemicals to rats is injection through the tail. For anyone who's done any murine work, rats and mice, the tail is basically just this wonderful giant vein that hangs off the back of a rodent that allows you to put chemicals directly into its system. So it's quite possible that they did that, though if we dig around, it could be. It's definitely being injected, though. Oh my gosh.
So if I
Oh
understand,
my gosh. No,
what?
no, hang on. I'm sorry, because I've been reading this purple corn paper with one eye while I've been talking here. And this one is the flip. Extract of purple corn elicits a significant increase in the number of discharges of the ejaculatory motor patterns evoked in spinal rats. All right, you heard it here first, people.
Translate that to English.
Corn juice. Corn juice makes you come. TikTok was right.
I guess this is slightly better than the dolphin jelly.
Oh gosh. Well, it's going to be like this all the way till Halloween, folks. Today we have both found the most terrifying edging potion, becoming love potion number 9. Honest to God, I'm kind of surprised that somebody hasn't taken this and experimented with it independently as, like, you know, a professional who deals in a field where one would do something like this.
I imagine you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get the human trial
Yes,
approved.
but I mean, I can buy peptides.
Well, there's obviously a line of obviously a line of dominatrix teas to be made.
Oh yeah, on both sides. This
Yes.
is the hand giveth, and the hand taketh away. It's get more fucked up the more I talk about it.
Okay, so I actually had another question, a little bit kind of more
Hang
science
on a second.
related.
I just need to throw this corn paper into the chat.
It looks
Find a
like
way to.
okay, it looks like they only got plants from one source. So I was wondering if this particular plant grew in other locations and if that would have an effect at all.
Are we talking about the corn or
For
the dragon tree?
the office plant one.
The office plant.
I mean, it grows anywhere. I can grow it in Australia. You can grow it in America. You can grow it in Africa.
Yeah. And they're all like the working man's title of this paper is tea made from office plants uh inhibits orgasm. Actually, you know, they don't say inhibits orgasm because this is right. Sorry, I misspoke. That was a jump that I shouldn't have made. The orgasm is much more complex, and which again is another. I would like to see some brain scans. I want to see some. Well, no, because you're not having an orgasm if you're not connected to your brain. You're just having the literal muscular response.
Wait, but what about like the hormones and stuff that move throughout the body? Those might still get to the brain, even if the spine's
Yeah, no,
separate.
that's true. You're gonna have something, but remember, this is a dopamine and oxytocin inhibitor. It's not
Okay, so we need to figure out because
even
there's brain
Nick.
orgasm.
There's
Yeah, we
definitely
need
a
to
lot of
figure out because there's brain
brain.
orgasms and does it just inhibit the ejaculation?
We don't know. They didn't check that. That's not in this paper, but that would be the next question. Um, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Yeah, I don't know.
Find a way to put it on a time release so you can make the first one take effect, preventing you from, having premature ejaculation,
I
followed by the
mean,
corn juice to get it so you get a very hard
yeah, see,
ejaculation
that's the other
afterwards.
thing. That's the other thing. Like the corn juice, of course, is the thing. The dragon juice inhibits the thing, but I need to.
It could be that the dragon juice also gives you brain orgasms.
Hmm. There's
Are you trying to make a horny
not.
seal?
There's nothing like this is all of the. So the reason that this is considered an aphrodisiac isn't because it makes you hornier. It's just because it can make a man last longer. And if you have ever interacted with an inconsiderate male who's taken one of those little blue pills, if the hardware is working, a whole lot about it, like, because yeah, you don't need to be in the mood to do that. But hang on, I had to pull up the corn paper because Oh,
Hi,
hey.
Justin.
Oh, no, because it's another. Oh man, Jasmine, you just missed a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, I
Um,
Well,
usually wanted.
I'm in the
so
car. I can only do what I can do about getting out of an appointment when they're finished.
okay, hey Jasmine, do you know of any sex toys of the lower
Yeah.
spine that induce
Oh,
orgasm
oh.
without the like just like flick a switch, without the psychological effects?
I mean, I'm sure there is something. I mean, and I definitely know there are people that you know, give them any sort of, they will, but I don't know of anything. Do you?
I don't. Um,
I would guess electrostimulation would prevent ejaculation and not induce it.
you know,
Oh, it depends on the person.
it depends on the person, and well, so that's the thing. So you missed the fact that these rats are being stimulated to ejaculation through either having dopamine ejectedly
Hmm.
while the
Hmm.
spine is severed from the brain. So this isn't about like the rat's kinks. This is a purely electrochemical process. You missed the part where we talked about how they basically cut the rat's spine in half so that they could directly isolate the ejaculatory
Okay.
mechanism independently of the brain.
Yeah. No, I don't know of anything. That is fascinating, though.
Yep, and because we read that, we found this paper about corn and how it does the opposite. You
Corn,
can
I feel like there's a song that needs to be
I
played on.
know.
Where's Liz?
I know, and when I put butter on it, everything changed. Um uh
Corn
so
conspiracy
yeah,
intensifies.
So, are we talking
and it
about spasms?
we're gonna yeah, sure, we'll call it spasms. Um I'm specifically calling it electrochemical stimulation because that's just the most precise that I can get with it. But yes, it would feel like a spasm, but also you wouldn't feel it. But it acts like a spasm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So is it kind of like the nerve in
Okay,
your
so it's from the corn extract that are used to treat male sexual disorders. And yeah, this stuff also works on rats that have had their spine snipped again. And it's from an ancient Mexican traditional medicine, where they called atoli. I don't know ancient Mexican.
Okay.
Atolli.
Okay.
Bring it in the chat. And evidently, this stuff is literally like purple corn ground up and then mixed into water as a slurry, and then you drink it.
And then what?
And as a medicine, it mitigates fever, provokes urine, and cleans all paths, quote unquote. It
Okay. Wait,
it ref-
it is forcing an ejaculatory response.
it in the abstract here is it significantly facilitates the arousal and execution of male rat sexual behavior without significant influences on the ambulatory behavior. That means it's targeted. You're not just spasming with your entire body.
Yeah.
In addition, purple corn extract elicits a significant increase in the number of discharges of the ejaculatory motor patterns and in the total number
Huh.
evoked. It works It just works. And it
Okay, but just out of curiosity, this corn slurry has not been used on humans to see if it
the
increases their potency or number of ejaculates or anything like that. This
this
is
this
just the
this
rat.
this would be um this would be something that you would again search for papers that reference this paper. But uh oh, and so they tested this on spinal rats, but they also tested it on normal rats. And so they injected the estradiol valorante. Ugh. Again, I don't know why my ability to say scientific terms is so
They
bad.
injected sex hormone replacement. Right. They injected a common
Right, injected this chemical that
chemical used
in
for
it increased receptivity.
it's a sex hormone. It's a sex hormone.
Yeah,
That's what they inject.
it makes them DTF.
Mm,
You inject it, inject it into the female, and it makes her DTF.
okay.
And then they're like, how many times does the male rat uh do the pelvic thrust that's got them going insane? How many times do they do the time warp? So there we go. That's a two for everyone. 2 for 1. Um, so this
Well,
is
I
the
just have so many questions, and
I know
obviously
you
we could
really
go down a rabbit hole
you're
for
gonna have to catch up with the recording, but um
And all of that is still being recorded.
yeah, and all of it's being recorded, which is good. I mean, this is where the good stuff comes from. So as I mentioned, a series of multiple papers. We're going to be exploring this. I can definitely imagine that there is going to be stuff that we didn't even expect to be talking about. I was just going for the dragon tree extract, and here we are talking about corn. Um, and 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 how it makes it how it makes you corny.
Oh, that was good.
They call it corn hub. Um, okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Oh,
Does
you're
anyone have
boring, Artem.
does anyone who's not Jasmine, because she's just so late, so we just have to repeat everything. Does anyone have any questions about the material presented today? Oh, right. We never got around to actually answering your question, Epicurean. Sorry, I got so distracted with the corn paper. So what we would be looking at is this is one of those situations where you get into like biochemistry being a lot like uh just this unknown magical type of thing. Does anyone here remember me talking about cerebrolysin, or
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
or if we ever talk about so prone to mention whenever somebody talks about synthetic meat? um It's the magic juice. What you could do is you would run it through an LC and a GC, so liquid and gas chromatography. Um, I mean, and you would basically just have to start breaking it down into its constituent parts. Once you identify something, you see if you can extract it, and much like the ways that we figure out how genes work, isolate as many chemicals as possible and then test them all independently. And then you would have to base it like basically what you're doing is kind of like if you've ever tried to see if you're intolerant to certain types of food, or you do a reduction diet where you just remove everything from your diet and then start adding it in, this would be the chemical extraction version of this. Um, you pull everything out and then you slowly introduce each chemical and you try to figure out which combination does this thing. With cerebrolysin, the Russians came up with Cemex. It's close, but it's not quite the same thing. They only found some of it. But I do think if we kept hunting papers done by this group and that are referenced by this group, we could find
Would it be wrong to look?
morphic. Go ahead.
Would it be wrong to look for something that would fit into the dopamine receptor?
No, absolutely. Like, I mean, there's one of two things is happening. There's either a chemical in there that is directly inhibiting the dopamine receptor through blockage, or it's triggering a pathway that is blocking the dopamine
Yeah.
receptor. That's a PhD right there. You're just going to sit down and you're going to figure out that entire pathway and the effects of the extract on that. I mean, once you get down into the nitty gritty of it, there could be a whole series of things that have been turned off or altered. So in terms of what else does this do? We don't know yet. And it is kind of a mess in there with just random plant extracts. This is like the homebrew opium of extracts here. It's literally just like let it sit in water and then cook it down. Which I
I think we get far too detailed into
actually find.
pharmacology, and if we're talking about brewing tea, I think or using plants, it's just about try to eliminate if there are any toxins.
Right. Well, you'll notice in the very, very, oops, I'm in the wrong paper. That's why I'm so confused. Um, you'll notice that in the very, oh my God, where is this paper? There we go. Sorry, I got 6 papers open. The very wonderful table 1 from our dragon tree paper. There are no alkaloids in the plants, and alkaloids are usually our first go-to for things that are going to fuck you up. So that is that's good to know. Because
Is
people
this an FDA approved vegetable
I'm
or trees you can eat?
FDA compliant plant,
Can
not
you
an
eat trees?
FDA. You're garbly again.
Oh, so that's because I'm uploading all the photographs.
Oh. Oh, okay. What was the question though?
Is
Did
this
anyone else
is this tree edible?
treatable?
Edible.
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 And you lick it.
Yes, it is. Like I said, it's FDA compliant, not FDA approved. That means they you can probably buy the extract. Hey, Amazon, can I buy extract? Let's see if I can just buy the dried powder. Oh yeah, there it is. Dragon herbs, tonic alchemy, superfood, green powder. No, these are all just like. Oh wait. Dragon's blood. No, that's Sangre de Grotto. Moringa leaf powder.
That will work on females as well.
The moringa.
Yeah.
That's interesting. liquid tree sap for digestive support. I think I need to sign in here. Well, I can't buy it on Amazon, so I'm already surprised. Oh my gosh. There we go. Can I buy the extent? Nope. Science paper. Okay, so it's called Dragon's Blood. Yes, I can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. It's really freaking expensive, so if somebody wants to make a bunch of
I think dragon blood is might be a different tree.
well, I am looking at
Dragon blood is more chunky in the stem.
uh it's a Dracaena. So it's to a Dracaena Arborea. They're both in the same family, and short stem. Yeah, it I think let's see, Africa, Canary Islands.
Yeah.
Hang on. Oh, often seen in shopping malls. Come on. Essential ingredient for varnishing 18th century Italian violins. Okay, maybe that might be different then. Yeah. But evidently you can put violin varnish in your mouth, so you know, there's that.
I don't think I would do that.
Well, I mean, right now I'm making a varnish out of chitosan and
Of course you do.
propylene. Yeah, okay, so it looks wow, there are a lot of papers about this. Oh, phytochemical analysis of the antimicrobial and radical scavenging properties of methanol extracts of another Dracaena. Okay, so it looks like all the Dracaenas are doing a lot of the same thing. Oh, here we go. And they've looking around for Dracaena extracts. On the second or third page, you're going to start getting into phytochemical analysis. So Epicurean, this would be the stuff that that you were kind of looking for. Like, can we break down? I'm going to just start throwing papers in there, break down what's going on. And I was like, hey, it's probably in a next paper. And there we go. So there's a couple of papers for anyone who is on chemically. So this one is specifically for antimicrobial and radical scavenging properties. But and it's also used against the infestation of stored grains. So it's a ongoing effort to use eco-friendly alternatives to chemical pesticides. So the exact same thing that stops you from being able to ejaculate also significant mortality in both insect pests from just contact. Soaks right in through their breathing holes and poisons them. Dose dependent, probably. But that's what the actual mechanisms that are going on there. I'm going to ask, did I answer all the questions that have been asked at this point? I mean, this is great. This thing is also a like anti-inflammatory, a microbial. This is cool. This is definitely going into, like, 10 out of 10 would keep this in my cabinet full of witches brews. I'm gonna rank these papers by witchiness. Today was definitely a 10 out of 10 for witchiness. Oh, hey, look, somebody's looking at the toxicity. That was the question, right?
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Because I mean,
dun.
it's too tedious if you're gonna go the
Do it yourself version, right?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, do the
right.
exact biochemicals. It's easier to kind of just
Okay.
eliminate whatever's
Yep.
toxic, and
Let's
then
see.
you have something that
Okay.
works.
Not toxic. Up to 2,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. That's a lot of an extract. Therefore, the resin is suitably considered for additional research for its medical and therapeutic efficacy. And so this would be this next paper. I'm just going to keep dumping papers in here because I know that it is being used. But this paper was dropped in. That is going to be the key to finding out what is in this extract, because this is the one where they're explicitly testing for toxicity, and so any paper that comes after that talking about the individual chemicals and their effects on humans or mammals is going to end up referencing that paper.
Okay, I'm a little newbie here, so I got no idea where you're dropping this or where I can find it. But
Oh,
I'll
I'm sorry.
look
Yeah,
around.
so up above the voice and video chat channel that we're in is a voice and video chat text channel where we normally throw stuff, and somebody has tagged you. I made a little side channel called Advanced Potions First Quarter, and all of these references and diagrams and anything else that comes from this conversation specifically will be dropped in to channel right here for reference for the longer collection of this project. Because remember, we're doing this. This is part of a larger project for a friend.
I'll figure it out. I can't find it now, but I'm gonna probably figure it out after.
You can't find what?
The texts and everything.
Somebody tap hand side, you're going to see some of the channels are gray and some of the channels are white. The white channels have new conversations in them, and there should be a red marker or dot that says new mention. If you just scroll on the left hand side of the Discord app. I'll help you find it later. All right.
Which is why threads are a bad idea.
Question. What do we got? And I will be letting you know what we're doing next after this. What's coming next week? Okay, go. Questions? All right. Well, we've wrapped it up then. In sticking with the witchy theme, next week's paper is going to be about. Everybody know what henbane is?
No.
All right. This
Oh, you
is
want
the
to go with the henbane next?
what?
Oh, you want to go with the henbane next?
I'm going with the henbane next. We are going to be having a guest speaker, which is you, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna have
In
to dig up my witch recipes.
yeah. And I'm this will give you to prepare, since this is not something that you do casually every week. So that'll give you enough time to prepare and get ready. I know that presenting is different than just participating. So next week we're going to be doing henbane. Henbane is one of the most well-known witchy chemicals. It is part of the nightshade family. Nightshade being the tomato plant, the deadly
Solanezai.
belladonna dripped into the eyes of women by themselves. They did it to themselves. It causes pupil dilation. Pupil dilation physiologically.
Belladonna. They still use it. The if you
Yeah,
do.
yeah. It's used to mimic arousal, which is the
Yeah, but
diet.
it's also used if you're going to do eye examines.
Oh yeah, no, of course, of course. So it's used for a lot of stuff, and henbane is also in the nightshade family. Do not replicate the thing that we will be talking about. Unlike the dragon tree, henbane is not eat. It is
It is used. It is used as a sedative ish.
right, but for the
Yeah.
purposes of public conversation, we're just saying don't. It's too risky for a
Yeah.
non-professional. That is my opinion about this.
It's a little
And
spooky.
information, as always, is theirs, but I'm saying don't. That's
Yeah.
all. That's my responsibility here.
Yeah.
Once you
And
guys are
that would
released
be
into the
wise.
wild,
That would
that's
be
that's the
wise because its sister plant, the belladonna, has also been
yeah.
used for
It's
with
in the nightshade family. It will kill
unhappy
you.
consequences.
It it will kill you.
It will, or
But
make you go crazy.
what it was the magic poultice, which allowed to the black masses where they danced with the devil and hallucinated and had lots of
Yeah.
sex and then woke up the next day having flown back to their house.
Yeah.
So that is what
That's
we
what
will
I'm
be
going to
talking.
talk. That's what I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I'll
Oh,
dig
hey,
out my.
I'm
I might.
talking about belladonna. You're talking about butterfly.
I'm talking about butterfly. I'm not going to talk about butterfly because
Oh,
rather I would
okay. Which one?
rather I would rather talk about the other African plant that would affect the oxytocin receptor.
Oh, okay. Great. Well,
Because
since it is your talk, you can talk about whatever you want.
the blue butterfly plant is more of a it's not affecting the oxytocin so much.
Uh,
It's
right.
more,
More like doping.
yeah, and it would be, it's a nice thing to drink tea of if you're going to prevent dementia, early dementia.
Mm-hmm.
It's, yeah, stuff like that. It's like more like health oriented more
All
than
right.
juicy stuff.
Well, I
Question:
mean,
Do
there
you
is
have
that
any?
whole.
Oh, I was gonna ask if you have any advice for sorting through like herbal medicines to find the stuff that's not like just spam and straight up wrong.
Like hey, I want to go through an old-timey book of herbal medicine and then see how much of it is legit. Is that what you were asking? You keep breaking
Oh,
up for me some reason.
finding legitimate stuff in general without just going through and having to try it and research it all.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't need to try and research it all. This is the type of stuff that we've been doing for so long that like there is for
Plinius and Dioscorides, they started this
I'm sorry, what?
long time ago. This is what our medicine today is built upon.
Yeah. So
All the
there's
plant knowledge that
there's
has
like
been created is, that's like the core base of the medicine that we have today. Most of it.
yeah, so all of this stuff has been studied fairly extensively for every plant that has been used pharmacologically. Oh my God, words. Um there are teams that have been studying the effects of it and trying to figure out how it works. So, I mean, the simplest way is take the name of the plant and smack it into Google Scholar, and if it really works, it's probably one of the first 3 papers that pops up. I mean, that's how I've been doing this, and it works really well. You just smack a search term onto a plant name. Um, is that like on the human perception side, or the way that we define things, you are going to find some mixed messages. Like, for instance, with this one, it's called an aphrodisiac, but it's actually an inhibitor. It's just an aphrodisiac because of how we think about the sexual act, and how it's portrayed societally and sociologically. It's not like an aphrodisiac, not illicit that biological pathway that we associate with love. It's actually the opposite. And so this was a roller coaster for me when I first read this paper, because I started reading it and I'm like, this title sentence is pretty clear. And then the very first sentence of the abstract is, it's an aphrodisiac. And I'm like, well, which one is it? Is it turning you on or turning you off?
It's just administering the function.
Definition. Yeah, definition is
It's just
it's
administering the
human.
function you're after, and the plant that I choose to present will be more in the love spectre. We're going to bring love into the equation.
Oh yeah, you have to have the full collection of witches' brews. You can't just be torturing men by making them incapable of getting off. You've got to make them.
Yeah. So good old love potion.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to look for.
All right. But next week is psychosis and self-poisoning for magical witchy powers, because damn were we bored back in the olden days.
Trippy witch stuff.
Yep, creepy witch stuff. All right. So that's about it for this paper, unless anybody has any questions. If you missed something, or if you want clarification, you can either ping me or drop the question in Advanced Potions, or talk to me right now.
I
And
guess.
I was
Sorry,
Epicurean obviously knows a lot about this as well, so don't just ask me.
right. Okay, so okay, so I guess 2 things. One is that, to my understanding, the chemical name for the hormone you're referring to is estradiol, pronunciation wise. Not that it really
Oh.
matters, but there's some trivia for you.
Oh, are we talking about the one that triggers the
Yeah, in the female rats, and yes.
the reciprocity? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And thing number 2, I guess, I don't know, diol.
Estradiol. That makes
Yeah.
sense. It's a diol. Oh, look, WebMD.
Oh, because there's 2.
Hang on. Can we make this all plant-based all the time? Oh. Here's a meta paper. Oh, Epicurean, this one is for you. I'm putting it in the channel, so you're gonna have to figure out where this a screening 40 different plants from Egypt and Thailand, and they're screening for the estrogenic and anti-estrogenic activities.
Yeah, it is a signal. I know that there's an artist that's been working with extracting estrogen from plants. So yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, there's.
From what I heard, it's not particularly effective.
Interesting.
Mm,
So
it's there's a lot of
Dracaena
plants that have
Lore.
estrogen in them.
I'm sorry, what?
Can't understand you, Alex. Also, I've heard the same thing, Artem.
Somebody somewhere is not garbled.
Give me a moment.
Uh, Epicurean, it looks like your mic is perma on, but you're
Oh,
not making any. Okay, did anyone understand what Alex said? I'm lost. Okay, more mumbling. All right. Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up for today. Feel free to continue the conversation. I am going to go get some lunch, but by all means, please continue to hang out and chat. This is turning out
Hello?
to be
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
really fun.
Yeah. Right, cool. Sorry, it's the uploading of all the pictures from the photo shoot. I've paused that. Yes, there turns out there's lots of estrogen in lots of different plants. Phytoestrogens, loads of them. One of them is fenugreek. There's loads in there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
but see, this is more specific. This is about the estrogenic activity, so it's not necessarily about estrogens coming from the plant,
okay,
but
where did you put the paper? Because
but it is also used. Some of these are used for estrogen replacement therapy. Ooh, and they're good as a
yes,
skin treatment.
where did you put the papers?
I put it in the Advanced Potions first quarter channel where I've been putting all the papers
This
and
is the new
everything else.
channel I haven't seen until today. I've been busy.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
no excuse. That's
Alex,
just how it is.
you are garbly mound or what? But all right. Well, it was good hanging out with you guys, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more conversation about this kind of stuff as we make our way through the holiday season. Everyone have a good day.